Imagine standing on a cliff of red sandstone, looking down at a vast, silent canyon. Below you, a thin, muddy ribbon of water trickles weakly through the scorched earth. To your left, endless dunes of yellow sand stretch to the horizon. To your right, more of the same. There is no green. There are no fields of emerald barley. There are no towering stone monuments scraping the sky. There is only dust. Every year, for thousands of years, a miracle happened here. Deep in the highlands of Africa, monsoon rains swelled the tributaries of the Nile, sending a colossal wall of water rushing north. This wasn't just water. It was life. It carried millions of tons of black, nutrient-rich silt, painting a fertile green stripe across a dead desert. The ancient Egyptians called this land Kemet, the Black Land. It was the womb of humanity's most iconic civilization. But what if that miracle never happened? What if the rains in the Ethiopian highlands shifted just a few hundred miles, and the Nile became just another ordinary, sluggish river, locked forever within its banks? The year is 3000 before the Common Era. In our timeline, this is the dawn of the First Dynasty. King Nama is uniting Upper and Lower Egypt, launching 3,000 years of pharaonic glory. But in this alternate world, there is nothing to unite. Without the annual flood, there is no surplus food. Without surplus food, you cannot feed armies, or priests, or scribes. You cannot build cities. Instead of a mighty empire, the Nile Valley remains a sparse chain of desperate, warring villages clinging to a drying riverbed. The great unification never happens. The concept of the pharaoh, a living god responsible for the cosmic order, is never conceived. And then, the dominoes begin to fall. Think about the monuments. The Great Pyramid of Giza. The temples of Luxor and Karnak. These weren't built by slaves whipped into submission. They were built by tens of thousands of skilled farmers during the flood season, when their fields were underwater and they had nothing else to do. It was a massive, state-sponsored public works project. No flood means no idle workforce. No surplus food means no way to feed them. The pyramids are never built. The Sphinx remains an uncarved, anonymous block of limestone, slowly swallowed by the creeping sands. But the loss of Egypt is more than just missing postcards. It reshapes the entire ancient world. In our history, Egypt was the breadbasket of the Mediterranean. When famine struck Greece, Rome, or the Levant, they turned to the Nile. Now, picture the rise of Rome, centuries later. In our timeline, Rome's empire was fueled by Egyptian grain. Without it, the Roman war machine starves. The empire cannot sustain its massive cities. Rome might never expand beyond the Italian peninsula. The entire trajectory of Western civilization collapses before it even begins. And what about human thought? The unique geography of the Nile shaped how humans viewed the universe. The predictable cycle of the flood, death and rebirth, year after year, gave birth to the myth of Osiris, the god who dies and rises again. It created a culture obsessed with the afterlife, with preservation, with eternity. Without the Nile's cycle, human spirituality takes a darker, more volatile turn. Perhaps we adopt the chaotic, terrifying worldviews of Mesopotamia, where rivers flooded violently and unpredictably, leading to gods of wrath and fear rather than balance and order. Let's go even deeper. The absence of a powerful Egyptian empire leaves a massive power vacuum. Without Egypt to balance the scales, the Hittites, the Assyrians, and the Babylonians clash in endless, brutal wars for dominance. The Phoenicians, those great sea traders, find no wealthy Egyptian market to trade with, slowing the spread of the alphabet, the ancestor of the very letters you are reading today. Human progress slows to a crawl. The Bronze Age is delayed. The Iron Age is a distant dream. Imagine a modern archaeologist digging in the sands of North Africa today. They find no tombs filled with gold. No hieroglyphs telling stories of powerful queens and warrior kings. Only the bones of nomads who wandered a harsh, unforgiving wilderness. We take the geography of our world for granted. We look at history as a series of human choices, of great leaders and brilliant inventors. But beneath it all lies the earth itself. A single shift in weather patterns, a single river failing to overflow its banks, and the entire story of humanity is rewritten. Would we have ever reached the stars if we hadn't first learned to measure the rise of a river? If you love exploring these hidden threads of history and mythology, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We have so many more worlds to uncover together. Until next time, keep questioning the world you know.